Greetings everyone, Rogue here. So I wanted to do a video on my diet again and just only talk about my diet and also go into some of the things that I've been researching on weight gain, triglycerides, how that plays a role in, high cholesterol and all the bad benefits that goes along with that. We all know about that, but there's been a lot of research done, a lot of changes in the thinking on whether cholesterol really is that bad for you as they say it is it or is it really needed by the body? And they're starting to say that it might not be as bad as what they were saying, that it always leads to heart problems and obesity and everything. I believe that there's probably a lot of truth to the old way of thinking that it does lead to bad health, but it doesn't. Like eating just meats would be a cure-all because you're getting the saturated fats that they've told you in the past to stay away from. You actually need those saturated fats. I do believe in a lot of that, but I don't believe that it is just a complete 180, and that just go ahead and get the saturated fats and don't worry about your cholesterols. One of the things that Dr. Paul Saladino was talking about on Joe Rogan was that I believe his triglycerides are like really high, and I'll explain what triglycerides are and how that plays a role. And he's super healthy, and there might be exceptions to the rule, but I don't think that's the way it would be for everybody, and I believe that probably high cholesterol plays a big role in some heart problems, and obesity plays a big role in a lot of that, and I think we've all are obese, honestly. I was pretty big there for a while, and I worked real hard at trying to overcome all that and trying to lose weight for a long time. Also, I have my last physical that I did, which was in 2015, so this is 5 years old. It's got my lipid panel in here, so it shows my cholesterol levels, my triglycerides, and I've always been sort of healthy. I've really been into exercise. I've always exercised and stayed healthy, but I was at this time up over 200, getting ready to go back on a deployment, and so I had to start really working on my weight to get it down, so that way when I went into my physicals, I was more worried about my blood pressure being too high. I don't have high blood pressure, but when you go through these physicals, anything above 140, they really start messing with you. You're okay at 140, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that when they're about to send you overseas to work, especially for long periods of time, they don't want you to be anywhere near 150. Anything over 150, you won't go. And so I was really worried they were gonna mess with me, but it just delays you. I'd end up having to go see a doctor and make sure that everything's okay, do more tests, and that would hold me up for like another week. So I was like, I'm just going to go in there and make sure I'm below 140 and be good, So I'm going to read those off too. So I got those, and I want to share those with everybody. And on my next one, which will be coming up, I have a physical coming up here soon. I've actually gotten away from doing those physicals just because of the way that I've been working and taking jobs that I've taken over here within the companies, and getting exempt from having to do those physicals, even getting exempt from CRC when I did go home back in 2018 from the last company to this company, and I was actually waived on going through CRC because they just wanted to run me through the process, skip CRC, and come straight back. I was already in the system, I was just changing companies, and I was staying on the same contract, so there was no need for me to go through CRC. So I didn't get those physicals. But while you are over here, each year you have to do a physical. Now with COVID and all the problems we've run into, nobody's been getting them, so it's actually been a couple of years for everybody. But now we're back at that stage where we're like, hey, we're behind, we need to get on these, and everybody needs to start doing their physicals. And when I get those results, we'll compare them to these and see how big of a difference they've made. And actually my triglycerides were really good the last time, and so were my HDLs, which are your good cholesterols. My HDL levels were really high, and apparently they kind of run high in my family anyway. And I think it's because we're more meat eaters, and I've always been more of I've never really thought about it until recently really started researching this, and I've never really liked vegetables. I used to fight with my mom all the time about eating my vegetables. I just didn't want to touch them. I didn't want spinach. I didn't want broccoli. I didn't want to mess with that stuff. I'd eat the meat though. I was always happy to eat chicken or steak, whatever she had out front of me. So, and breads. I ate a lot of bread. So we're getting a lot of carbs. That's what started my whole carb junkie. Was back when I was a kid. And then also the fact that I just probably ate more meat than like an average kid, or average kids probably going to listen to their parents and actually have the vegetables put on their plate and eat them. Maybe they enjoy them. I was a kid growing up, and I wouldn't do it. I didn't like vegetables, so that might have played a role in my development and how I was able to keep, low cholesterols, low LDLs, which are your bad cholesterols, and high HDLs, which are your good, and also have very, very low triglycerides. I'm kind of curious what my triglycerides are now, actually, to tell you the truth. So, to talk about the diet, what I wanted to say was, it's very simple. I can explain it in like 10 seconds. So, everybody knows, if you've been watching all my videos, it's going to be 3 meals. And they're going to be 6 hours in between each meal. So 5 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock in the morning, and then 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Breakfast, lunch, and supper. And I do not eat in between. I take in no calories in between. If I'm going to add calories because I'm losing too much weight and I need to kind of try and get back up, which has happened to me a couple of times, then yeah, I'm definitely going to eat in between those 6 hours. But or I'll find another meal or stack more on my plate. But I don't overeat. I keep my meals pretty simple. Like, for instance, if for lunch, say I was going to go get a pizza, I was just going to cheat that day. I could get a medium pizza and I could split it, and I could eat half, say 3 pieces, get a small or a medium pizza, and not a big one, but just a regular pizza, eat half of it for lunch, eat the other half for dinner. And I'm not going to get over full, or I'm not going to get too full. I'm not going to stuff myself and be walking around with a big gut and taking in all these extra calories that my body doesn't need, But I'm still waiting that 6 hours in between each meal, so I can eat half at lunch, wait 6 hours, eat the other half with nothing in between. So 3 meals, 6 hours in between each meal, and I start the day in a calorie deficit, which I've always talked about on this channel and everything that I do. I start the day in a calorie deficit. I do my exercise, and I eat a very simple breakfast. 1 oatmeal, and I just get the regular oatmeal, the variety kind. There's other oatmeals that are available to me, and I get those sometimes too. But the variety from Quaker oatmeal, that's just, they're good. So I go in there, I get the packet. It's got like spice, cinnamon and spice, brown sugar and spice, or brown sugar and cinnamon, and then the apples and cinnamon, And I just pull that packet out, tear it open, eat it. I think I'm getting like 130 calories from that and a cup of coffee. Maybe 5 calories at most from the coffee, so about 135 calories. And then that is it. So if you consider the amount of calories that I burn in just my workout in the morning, I'm gonna burn over 500 calories between a run, some cardio work, which I've actually started cutting back on because it's taking away too many calories in the morning. I'm actually closer to 800 by the time I finish everything. Plus I do a good, pretty strong weight workout. And that really sort of, the run and the cardio stuff, the calisthenics that I do is going to put me over 500 by itself, especially if I'm putting in 30-minute runs or even a 1-hour run. I've done that many times. I've cut off that 1-hour run completely because I'll go way over 1,000. We consider you're burning like that many calories and you've only taken in 135 calories, you're gonna just really start to shred weight. And in my case, I didn't really want to do that. Now, early on when I was 200 pounds, by all means, that's what I wanted to do, But when I got to that point where I was ready to stop, then I needed to kind of stop and cut back on some of the cardio stuff because that calorie deficit, 6 hours meal, 6 hours meal, nothing in between, is a weight loss program. It is an effective weight loss. I just lose like fast, and I can turn it on and I can turn it off as I choose, So if I want to kind of turn it off and eat a little bit more, put on some more calories, because I did get down to 170 and then I touched into 169, 168, because even when I stopped and I started eating regularly, your body's going to continue to lose. You're going to come in every day and like, well, for the past 2 days I've been eating, what's going on? I still lost 2 pounds, well, it's because your body, from what I see, for what's happened to me anyway, is that I guess it's in this mode where it's continually burning calories. So no matter what you're putting in your body, it's just going to want to use those because it's ready to run the next day. It's ready to get out there and keep hitting it, and to not get enough calories. So if you're going to give it a few more for the next couple of days, it's just going to use those up, and you're not really going to get anything kind of stored away in, like your proteins, those triglycerides that stores those lipoproteins that everybody talks about. Lipo, you hear a lot of that word, lipo this, lipo that, lipoproteins. Lipos are related to fats, and that's what is stored in your in your body through triglycerides. But I really do want to talk about that too. I want to talk about how watching what you eat and how the shift away from what we've been taught and what we've been told and more towards the meats and how that's better, actually saturated fats and getting those cholesterols, but keeping your triglycerides low, keeping your HDLs high, and keeping your LDLs low. So your triglycerides, you're not going to really affect one or the other just by focusing on your, like if you try to focus on all three, if you just try to focus on your cholesterol, you're naturally going to get triglycerides to go down lower. And that's really what the shift has been. The shift has been away from doctors telling you stay away from the saturated fats, stick to those whole grains. Well, that's a lot of carbs, and if you're not a very active person and you're getting in all these extra whole grains, these whole wheat breads, these whole wheat cereals, and these muffins, and these I think soy oils, you know, that they're using to cook with, you're getting too many carbs. And those are what they are, sugars also, and they are raising your triglycerides. And when you raise your triglycerides, and just to go into what triglycerides are, here's the definition. They are found in body fat. So triglycerides are components found in body fat and fats from the foods you eat. Triglycerides show that you have recently eaten, show what you have recently eaten, and cholesterol shows what you have eaten over a long period. If you eat a fatty meal, it gets absorbed as triglycerides. So in the first few days after eating fatty meals, you will have high levels of triglycerides in your blood. The liver then packages these triglycerides as fats in your adipose tissue. And I had to look up what adipose was. Adipose is basically body fat. Your belly fat right here, in your butt, in your arms. That's what it does. So it takes those triglycerides that it gets from the foods that you're eating that aren't good for you, like too many carbs. Too many carbs are bad. I think no carbs at all didn't work for me either. So I had to find that good medium. And that's why I call, you know, what I'm doing is not a strictly carnivore diet. What I'm trying to do now, carnivore-ish is what I'm doing, because I had to throw some carbs back in there. And now that I've shrank them up, there's not a lot of carbs on there. There's not a lot of French fries. There's not a lot of potato chips, nothing. It's just small portion of rice. So I got mostly my meats, my proteins, and I got a small portion of rice off to the side. And I'm finding more doctors are saying that that's a better way to go, is to, you know, definitely get some of those carbs, but, you know, don't load up on them, you know. So when you get too many carbs, that gets stored away as triglycerides in the liver or in these adipose tissue in your fats. The liver will transfer those triglycerides into cholesterol, HDLs and LDLs. And what happens is you become, once your triglycerides remain high and it's in your blood and in your liver is changing those triglycerides into cholesterols, then your cholesterol levels will rise. And if you're getting nothing but bad cholesterols, then your LDL levels are going to be through the roof. And that's where you get all the health problems. But the connection I want to make is really the triglycerides and the foods that you eat. If you focus on trying to lower those triglycerides, then you'll be focusing on keeping the triglycerides out of your blood, keeping them out of your liver, and then keeping them from being stored as fat. That's what it looks like to me. And there's a lot of different literature out there. There's a lot of different things you can look up, and you can research this stuff yourself, you know. But matter of fact, one of the sites that I was turned on to use, right now I'm on medicinenet.com, and that has a lot of good information on there on what triglycerides are, HDLs, LDLs, how to raise your HDLs, lower your LDLs, keep your triglycerides low, and also the clevelandclinic.com or clevelandclinic.org also has a lot of good information on triglyceride levels and HDLs and LDL levels. So, and they have guidelines for triglyceride levels. I'll just read them off real quick. And as a matter of fact, I'll pull my packet out here now. This was done in 2015. I was getting ready to deploy to Iraq. And you don't really have to hang on to these after a year. They're no good anymore after like 90 days. But just I've been carrying it around for some reason. But going back to these triglyceride levels. So And then I'll go in more to what the good doctor says. His name is Dr. Ken D. Berry. I found him on YouTube. He's got a lot of good information out there. He kind of keeps it simple. Some of the researchers, especially that one that was on Joe Rogan, Paul Saladino, seemed to me like they were saying just cut it all out. Don't touch vegetables, they'll kill you, you know? And I was like, I can't do that. You know, I did try that. I tried it for one day and it just brought me down. You know, I felt like I was exhausted. I had no energy. By the end of the day, I was dragging, trying to get out of here, made it to bed, passed out, had a very hard time getting up the next day. And so I knew right away, I was like, I can't just quit cold turkey on those carbs. I need them, you know, and I knew that. So I was like, okay, let's just not do the strict carnivorous diet, and let's do this carnivorous-ish diet. It's a carnivore-ish diet. Hard to say, but going back to these triglycerides, so a normal triglyceride level is anything under 150 milligrams. And back in 2015, and I was still heavy overweight, but I had started working out again. I was starting to really focus on what I was eating, not knowing anything about triglycerides or HDLs or cholesterols or any of this. My triglycerides were at 115. Normal is 150. Borderline high is between 150 and 200. High is 200 to 500. Very high is over 500. And I believe Paul Saladino, Dr. Paul Saladino and Joe Rogan was saying his triglycerides were like in the 300s. So he was in that high level. And that, of course, leads to high cholesterols, because that's what your liver's going to be doing, turning all those triglycerides into cholesterols. Now, my doctor, when she gave me this, she goes, well, I'm a little bit concerned about your cholesterol because it's a little bit high. So my overall cholesterol reading was 223. Now, desirable would be less than 200. Between 200 and 239, which is where I was, is borderline high. So that's a little bit high. She said, but it's because your HDLs are so high. A desired HDL is between 40 and 60, or average HDL is between 40 and 60. My HDLs were 77, so I was way up there. I was way up there on my HDLs, which are your good cholesterols. Those are your high density lipoproteins. This is hard to remember all this stuff. So your high density lipoproteins are your good cholesterols. 40 and 60 is average. I was 77, and that's really high. Now my LDLs, which are your low density lipoproteins, and those are your bad cholesterols. Those are the ones that create the coatings on the insides of your veins where your HDLs do not. As a matter of fact, they'll combat that. Your LDLs will create that coating inside your blood vessels, and those blood vessels, once they become too coated with LDLs, that's what will start clogging up your blood vessels, and that's what will lead to heart disease and all the other problems associated with having clogged vessels, high blood pressure, of course, heart disease. And just, it looks to me, the way I read it and the way I understand it on here, that with high triglycerides, with all those triglycerides, they stay in your blood for about a week, and then they start getting stored away in the what they call apodome tissue. Let me go back to that. Adipose tissue. And the adipose tissue is just that loose body fat that's right here, that's right under your skin and above your muscle. So that's all. It's on me too right there. I got it. Matter of fact, if you look at the video where I'm doing my push-ups, you can see some of my belly hanging down, like just loose. You know, I do have abs. I do have a fairly tight stomach, and there's a bit of layer of fat that I want to burn off, and I'm really working hard on doing that. But I'm working hard on trying to burn that without losing too much more of anything that I've gained either. Because, like I said, I'm not trying to make myself look like, I'm walking in like I'm sick and everything's just sunk in. And so I got to lose weight correctly. I mean, yeah, I could just say, you know what, I'm just going to stick to this diet and I'm going to burn it all off until I got no fat. I'm zero. But imagine what I would look like, And even getting down to like 170 and falling below that, I already start getting to that point. And people start asking me questions, like, what's going on with you? You okay? That it really, and especially out here, being amongst the military and being amongst other contractors that are here, everybody is pretty mindful of their health. even the older people with the blood pressure problems, or they've got diabetes, there's all kinds of things that people have, and there's a lot of concern about, their health, and people are always asking other people, what's going on? Are you okay? Do you feel okay? If you become too obese, they're going to start asking you questions. If you start looking like you're losing too much weight, they're going to start asking you questions, and you don't want to look like you're just sick all the time because you're trying to lose, the last little layer of belly fat. I can live with that. I'm happy with that. I'm cool. I lost the amount of weight I wanted to get down to, and I've also improved my cholesterol levels and my triglycerides. Now I won't know how much I've improved since I did this back in 2015, but I'm very confident that they're going to be much better. My cholesterol levels will, like I said, my overall cholesterol was borderline high. It was 223. My LDLs were 123, which were okay. That's fine, but the overall being high, and the fact that that's the first thing the doctor's going to look at is your LDLs, your bad cholesterol. Okay, you're okay there, but then the HDLs were very high. So she says, okay, I understand why you're so, why your overall cholesterol is so high, and that's okay. It's better to be high on your HDLs, and you could be a little bit lower on your LDLs. So we'll see how that turns out. So going back to those triglycerides and the role that they play, what I was trying to do, I really wanted to know, like, we know if we eat too much, where does body weight come from? How do we become overweight? And we know that if you eat too much, if you eat the wrong food, you're just going to put on weight, especially if you're immobile and you're not exercising. So I want to know specifically, okay, I know that the weight's coming on by the foods that we eat and the lack of good choices, but what's putting on it? Where does that come from? Where does fat come from? And what I'm seeing and what I'm researching is that it really falls back to these triglycerides. And people that are obese tend to be high blood pressure. They tend to have very high cholesterol. I was 200 pounds and I was 223. I was borderline high. Luckily, my HDLs happened to be higher than my LDLs. Well, they weren't higher than my LDLs, but they were high, and my LDLs were right in line. So my overall cholesterol being high was not an issue because of the fact that I had high HDLs. And again, HDLs are your good cholesterol, LDLs are your bad cholesterol. So my triglycerides happen to be a little bit low too. My triglycerides, like I said, below 150 is optimal. I was 115. And if you are, I think, a heavy person, taking in a lot of the bad foods, because triglycerides are developed from sugars, from carbohydrates, and they're just stored away as fats and in the body, in those adipose tissue. And when it runs out of places to put it, it's just going to find new places to put it, and it's going to stack itself on top of each other, and that's where body fat comes from. Now, if you're not eating all the time, if you do 3 meals a day, you don't have to starve yourself, and you get that exercise in the morning. And so now I'm starting to see all this, I'm starting to put it all together, and I'm starting to research, and I'm realizing that what's going on is I've started off with the calorie deficit. Now I still got the rest of the day to go. So my body, in order for it to function, is going to burn calories. I created a calorie deficit to start my day. I've got 6 hours before I'm going to reach lunch. Now 5 to 11, just being out and about is not, and for the average person, I think 5 to 11 is not that big of a deal, especially if you're working, if you're moving around, and you are doing an exercise in the morning. One, you're going to feel better, and that gives you the confidence and the motivation to push yourself to go that 6 hours. But you really don't think about it too much. It's after lunch, waiting that 6 hours until you get to dinner. So 11 to 5, 11 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon is a little bit tougher than going 5 in the morning to 11 in the afternoon. Now, I really think that it's not a hard problem to go 6 hours in the morning to lunch versus lunch to supper. But getting back on track, if you are creating a calorie deficit, and remember, anything that you eat that's sugars, that's high in carbohydrates, is always getting stored away in triglycerides, and those triglycerides are being pushed into the liver. They're in your blood, they go into the liver, the blood turns those over into cholesterol. So starting off with calorie deficit, your body doesn't have as many triglycerides to produce in the blood. And what happens when it doesn't have those triglycerides, then, and it needs some to function. That's something everybody needs to realize, is that you can't be down to zero. That wouldn't be healthy. It needs some to function. It just doesn't need too many, because when it gets too many, that's where it goes to fat. Just store it away, get a wrap, put it over there, you know? So if it doesn't have that, and it can't carry that to produce energy anymore, it's got to get it from somewhere, because you're not putting extra food into it. You're not putting a big breakfast followed up with some snacks, followed up with a Coke, followed up with a lot of beers at night, followed up with a big lunch, big supper, you know, all that, everything bad for you. Alcohol plays a big role in triglycerides too. It'll raise your triglycerides through the roof. Although it is suggested that a couple of drinks per night, which is what I've been having, I get 2 every night, actually isn't bad for you. It's okay, because again, you don't want to be at a 0 triglyceride. I don't know what would happen. Honestly, that just know they would be bad. They need, and it even says it in here, your body's going to need some of those triglycerides. One, you need the cholesterols, because that's going to keep your veins and your vessels lubed, really. You know, just like an automobile. You know, it keeps everything clean, lubed. But too many LDLs becomes a problem, because those LDLs, those bad, gooey, chunky, bad cholesterols, are what gets clogged up inside the arteries and the vessels. So once your LDLs get too out of whack, and your triglycerides are too out of whack, and it's producing way too many LDLs, then you get clogged arteries, you get clogged vessels, blood vessels, and then you get heart problems, and you get high blood pressure. And like I said, just to repeat again, that when your triglyceride levels are high, and you're eating foods that create high triglyceride levels, and then you eat more foods that create high triglyceride levels, like a lot of Cokes, a lot of carbohydrates, a lot of sugars, candies, potato chips. You're just putting more triglycerides in the blood that already has a lot of triglycerides in there, so it immediately starts storing away everything in fat. Now, if you're not getting those, and you are doing a calorie deficit in the morning, you know, and you're doing your exercises, but you're waiting at 6 hours, it's got to pull energy from somewhere, because like I said, those calories or what your body's burning in order for you to function. And even after your workout, before your workout, you're going to burn calories all the way up to your workout. Your workout burn, or your calorie burn, is going to increase the amount of calories that you're burning, because you're working out, you're exercising. And then once you stop exercising, it's going to come down slowly, but you're still burning. And then you're going to go on through the rest of your day, breathing, walking around, talking, thinking, pumping blood through your body with your heart, burning calories all day long. So your body's going to need sustenance, and it gets that from food. And if you're not feeding it, you're on a schedule, then it's going to start pulling it from wherever it can pull it, and that'll be what it does. That's what the body's supposed to do. It's supposed to start pulling those stored energy levels inside of you, your body fat. So that's where you start losing the weight. And then, like I said, I did it just on that, without even really caring about what it was that I was eating, and I was able to lose weight. And if I really focused on it, and I really started like, okay, you know, I'm not going to get the pizza, I'm just going to stick to a basic salad. You can cut those down too. You can cut your meal sizes down, so that you got just enough to eat to keep you full enough just to get you to the next meal, and then eat another small meal, and that'll keep you full enough just to make it overnight, and then wake up the next day and get another small meal. But you got to do the exercises too. You know, you got the exercise that goes hand in hand with doing a diet, any diet, I think, but especially this diet, because that's what will get your calorie deficit way up there, and keep you behind, and keep you always trying to catch up. And also, I mean, you know, you're exercising your heart, your blood is flowing and pumping, and when you're eating right, you know, you're feeling better, you know, on the inside. It changes your mental state, you know, puts you in a more positive mood, and people around you begin to notice, and it just makes your day a lot better, because you've achieved so much. And then you start to see the results. You're losing weight, you know, and in just a few days, you know, I mean, I went into quarantine, and in that 2-week period, I just was like going into the bathroom, and I'd be in the shower, and I'd be like, man, I need to eat more. I'm feeling, like everything's starting to, I feel my stomach getting smaller, and I was losing weight. And then by the end of the 2 weeks, I had lost quite a bit of weight, and I decided I'd stick with it, but I had already started working out like regularly, and that's when I really was putting together my routine, where I was getting out there and putting in those 2-hour workouts, in the run, and still experimenting with it, still trying to figure out where I wanted to go with it, what was going to be effective and what wasn't going to be effective, what was too effective. And for instance, running every day, putting in those 1-hour runs, I felt great. That was awesome, but it also, really shredded the weight off of me to a point that I didn't want to get down to. I just wanted to get down to 180, 185. I ended up going down even below 170. It was a little bit too far for me, so I had to come up off that. And I did, like I said in one of my videos, I was talking to my wife on the phone, and I was downrange, and I was like, baby, check out, I was showing her my room, because I stay in tents down there. So I was like, check this out, and it was kind of fixed up nice, they had it walled up on the inside. And so she goes, and I looked at myself, and she had said something about, how I was looking like I was losing too much weight. And I could see in the phone my neck, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, God, does that mean? I was like, what happened? She goes, I've been telling you, you are losing too much weight. Now I was downrange where they had a very good kitchen. And the night that I showed up was like meat night. And I think that was like Sunday. So that was a good night to eat. So I made the decision now, okay, I can't just say I'm going to eat like simple meals and do it healthy, because that's not good for me. I'm going to lose too much weight in this, and I can't do that. So I really started to put the weight on there. And then I fluctuated, I went up, and I thought I was going up too high, and I thought I was going to be, be losing the 6-pack, or just, putting too much weight around my waist again. So it kind of came up off of it again. Again, I lost too much weight too fast. And now that kind of led into the research, and now I began to realize, okay, there's something to, the calorie intake, the calorie burn, the way in which we eat, eating the right foods. And then for me, like, it's just a good side effect that turned out to be a very positive one, was the fact that I'm going to keep these cholesterol levels in check. My triglycerides, luckily, were already very good 5 years ago. This should be great now, I should be really, really in good shape. But I'll know more when I get the next blood work done. I'm going to share it out with everybody. So the very beginning of this video, I started talking about just the basic diet, what I do. And it's exercise, breakfast, a very simple breakfast. Now I've created a calorie deficit because I've already burned a lot of calories leading up to my exercise. I've burned more calories during my exercise, and I ate a small, simple breakfast, just enough to sustain me, to make it to lunch. I go 6 hours, and then I eat lunch. And then I go 6 hours and I eat dinner. Now, being more active in between lunch and dinner would probably be a help too. If you have a job where you're outside, try to walk around more rather than jump in the truck and ride, or try not to sit down too much. Just anything to get a little bit more activity. But I understand a lot of people sit at desk, and like I do when I'm here, I'm just at a desk pretty much all the time. When I'm downrange, I actually get to get out and get on the systems and do my work, and also do training too. So I got to stand up on top of trucks and go over everything that we go over. Teach that to the guys out there. And that's pretty fun. Especially like all the work that I do have is be on the very top of the truck. So I got to climb all the way up there. So I'm up and down, grabbing tools, grabbing parts, fixing stuff. Climbing up, doing a class, going over everything, showing them how it works, coming back down off of the truck, and I get a lot of good exercise out there just throughout the day. Just working, just my regular work. Being back here, I have to find stuff to do if I want to get out of this office, because other than that, I'll be confined to this desk. And I had a lot of that too when I was in Iraq. Jobs weren't really for me. I had become a supervisor. I had to supervise the west portion of Iraq. That's what I was responsible for. Even though my job title wasn't supervisor, I was actually just under that. But still, they give you the responsibility, but they don't give you the title and the pay. So you're still making great money, but the title would be better. But I actually had I don't know, like, I mean, there was at one time I was the supervisor in northern Iraq, but I was just sort of like the lead guy out there, you know, without having any real superpowers as a supervisor. So a lot of guys was like, "Ah, you're just a mechanic just like I am," you know, but I was actually running it. But when I went to Western Iraq, I was actually the supervisor. And I had, I'm actually getting off topic here, but I had Western Iraq. I had from Al Assad, most of those outlying sites, some of the new outlying sites that we built. I had Haditha Dam, part of that was under me. That's all gone now. I can talk about it. So, but I had a lot of guys out in a lot of different places, and my work revolved around just being at a desk quite a bit. I was on the phone a lot. I was doing a lot of emails, and I was drinking a lot of energy drinks back then. You know, I was this big time energy drinker. And I've gotten off of those because they really mess with me mentally and physically. I mean, I get the shakes, you know, I feel like I got the heart palpitations. I don't know if I actually do, but I feel like I do. But I found that coffee is much better. It's a much better stimulant for me, you know, and it's natural and it's 0 calories, you know, so I need that, you know. And now, you know, I'm sticking to these meal plans. You know, I've had this kind of thrust upon me from just being out here and having to undergo what we've gone under with coronavirus, and it's opened my eyes because, you know, it was forced on me to do this, to live this way, to eat a certain way, and all of a sudden I saw results, you know. And out of, like, I was always exercising. I was a runner, you know, and I was hitting the gym, but I was never like this. I had a lot more time on my hands, so I was spending more time in the gym. So I began to really put all of it together, you know, what was working and why was this happening? Why was I losing weight so fast? You know, why was all of a sudden everything starting to happen? You know, I've spent years, you know, I'd go to the gym, I just wasn't doing it right. You know, I wasn't eating right. And that's easily the biggest thing, is I did not eat right. It didn't matter how often I went to the gym, how many miles I ran, you know, how often, you know, I went working out each day without a break in between, you know, and I did a lot. It didn't matter, because I was going to eat bad and I wasn't going to eat right, you know, and I was going to, you know, go into the AFE store, and I was going to probably get a big old bag of chips or candy and sodas and energy drinks, you know. And so basically just loading up on everything that can just raise those triglycerides through the roof. And the triglycerides has got to do something, because I'm just stuffing more down into my body, raising triglycerides even higher. Having to push all of the triglycerides that are taken in, put it in my blood, they're pushing it off to the fat, you know. So I kept that body fat right around my waist, you know, kept everything covered up. And just like that, it was gone in an instant. It was crazy. Even after being stuck down range, but we still had the kitchen available, and I had started doing those 2-hour workouts already every day. You know, I was out there running, I was doing all kinds of calisthenics, I was hitting the weights, you know, I was doing my 100 reps. And didn't lose any of the belly fat. You know, I used to think, oh, you know, I don't want to take my shirt off out here, you know. But I mean, I would. Everybody does. You take your shirt off so you can get some sun. But when I got back, and then we really was forced on that 3 meals every 6 hours, because just the guys didn't want to show up to take the time out to go get food for us and bring it down to us. You know, it's a hassle. There's a lot of us down there, I understand. But so we were just getting that, and I was like, something's happening. I can see it, you know. So what was it that was happening? I really started to think about it, and I started to focus on that. And then after I got out, remember, like I said, I went from 200 to about 187. So that was a pretty good drop, you know, in a very short period of time. You know, just I came back from downrange. I was still above 190, probably above 195, but I wasn't above 200. And then I'd say I lost 10 pounds. I went down to 187, 188. So I went from maybe 197 to 187. Now I did that after I came back within that 2-week period of being in quarantine. And actually just towards the end of leaving, I started to notice a little bit of reduction in weight. I could feel it, but I wasn't weighing myself. I noticed it, you know, but man, did I notice it coming out of quarantine. That's when I took that first picture. The very first one was in my room, and you can still see I've got pretty good sides, you know, they're not toned down or anything, they're still there, but you can see the stomach started to go flat, you know, the sides were trimmed up compared to the old pictures, you know. And then I think about 2 weeks later, I was like, I'm gonna stick with this, with what we've been doing, and I'm gonna see if I can go even further with this. Well, 2 weeks later, I took that other picture where I'm actually standing in front of a urinal, and I took a picture, and I'm even more toned up. So now, more push-ups, more weight room, sticking with that diet, and I've turned completely around. Everything that I was before was just like it all came true. Everything I wanted to do, everything I had always worked for in the past, just all of a sudden happened, seemingly overnight. And it was seeing those results that just motivated me to the point that I was like, I wasn't stopping, But like I said, I went too far with it because I did go down from 187 to below 180 and then 175. And I just started really kind of in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I'm gonna get ripped, But you're not gonna get ripped if you're not gonna put muscle on. So I was working out, but I wasn't taking in any calories. So I'm not gonna build muscle if I'm not taking in any calories. And so that's when it like, too much, and I was like, okay, stop, everybody's starting to notice, people are starting to say things, they're saying, oh, you okay, buddy? You don't look good, I'm like, no, I'm fine. And with coronavirus going around, man, you don't want to be sick out here. You can sneeze and they'll hear it across camp, man. They'll come running like, what's going on? Who's sneezing? Who's coughing out here? Kill that person. It's not that bad, but it's, people ask, so I was like, yeah, I need to start putting weight on. So, but I was very careful. Even still today, I think about it. I was like, I don't want to just throw weight back on too much, too fast. So I'm carefully integrating my weight, back up. Changed. I went to muscle milk now. It's got a few more calories in it. So probably start adding like one with each meal. So I'll supplement my meals, especially on those days that I go in there and I'm too lazy to just take my time to look around to find the foods that I need, that I want to eat, that will keep my calories kind of high. So that way I can use those to keep adding good weight back on, Once I get to a point where I'm happy and I'm comfortable between 180 and 185, if I still feel fine, I'll cut it off there. There won't be any extra calories. I'll stick to the 3 meals every 6 hours. They'll be proportioned out very well, and try to maintain that weight. I don't want to go up any further than that, and I don't want to go back to losing either. So I'm gonna have to find what's the right combination, the right median, so that I can stay at a weight. I don't gain, I don't lose. That I haven't figured out. I haven't even tried that. It's always been lose, now gain, now I'm too much, now lose again. No, I'm losing too much, now gain. I'm kind of fighting it. It's always a struggle. So anyway, that's this video, and hope you enjoyed it. Stay positive, stay healthy, stay fit. And on the exercises, those are just what I do because it's just what I got a lot of time out here, and I really just want to see how far I can push myself. I kind of take that seriously. I always want to push a little bit harder, a little bit further. And that's why I did the one video where I was doing push-ups. And I want to see how much can I increase that? Can I work back up? I used to do, just for the record, when I was in my 30s, I used to do just strictly a push-up workout. That was it. That's all I did was just push-ups. And I got to the point where I was doing sets of 50. I could do 100, knock them off, And honestly, why I quit, I would do wide, I would do narrow, I would do mediums, and I would do sets of 50. I would do 4 sets of 50, 4 sets of 50, 4 sets of 50, and I'd do that throughout the day. My workout was at night. So 4 sets of 50 is 200, and I would do that 3 different times, wide with my grip, wide, narrow, and medium. So that was 600 push-ups. And when you really think like, wow, it's pretty good, but imagine counting that out. I got tired of counting push-ups. And so I do want to get back to that where I can just knock out 50. And I can get close to 50 right now, but I've never really tried to work up to it. 20, like I can push off on 20 and be okay, And another thing too is like when I was doing the just a strictly push-up workout, I was feeling good. This is in my early 30s, just before my mid 30s, when I got in really good shape, because I left the push-ups and I started doing other stuff. But the push-ups kind of really started it all. And I got to the point where I could just complete, 4 sets of 50, 4 sets of 50, 4 sets of 50, go up to the room, and I didn't feel like I had done anything. I just felt like I was just gone for about an hour or two counting push-ups, and now I'm back, and there was no benefit. I had plateaued, and I've plateaued again with this. And like I said, I stop it at 20. I do 10 sets of 20, and I can finish off that's 200 push-ups, and I can finish off that last set of 20 just as strong as when I did my first 20. My last 20 is just as strong as my first 20. So I'm definitely not getting any benefit, I don't think, anymore. I need to increase the number of push-ups that I'm doing, or change the way I'm doing them, or maybe try to just go back to doing that 50 again. If I did 2 sets of 50, that'd be 100. Then I could do some other exercises and go back and do 2 sets of 50 again, and it'd be 200. And I think I'd probably start getting some benefits off of that. So I think we'll work back up to that, and I'm going to try to increase my score on my last personal push-up PFT that I did. I counted 51. I think that I did 50. I know total push-ups I think was like 64 or 65. But when I was watching the video, I didn't like the way I didn't go all the way down at some points. Some of them you can see, looking across my body, across my back, you'll see this elbow poke through. That's because I was parallel. I was getting all the way down and coming back up. And then there was some towards the end where I wouldn't go all the way down, and you couldn't see my elbow on the other side because I wasn't going all the way down. So I didn't count none of those. And I was like, I'm gonna leave all those out. Some you could kind of see it. And I think there was a period there where I went like 3 or 4 in a row. So I was like, okay, I'll give myself 1, but I won't give myself all 3 of them. So because it was so close. I was like, I'll give you 1 on that one. And I think that's how I hit 51. So anyway, good day, everybody. Keep it up if you're working hard. Hope you get the same results. I'm telling you, try this calorie deficit in the morning, 6 hours between meals. Don't go crazy on your meals, but don't starve yourself either. And you'll see the results and enjoy them. Good luck.